Welcome to Victoria Rumble Room. We're a news magazine based in Victoria, but we stretch across the province of British Columbia, across Canada, even further afield, and across a field in a land far away is my co-host with the most, John Jurisic. And John, we talk about being a show that does all kinds of topics, but we're really focused right now on BC politics.
As is the rest of the nation, because this is where it's happening, right here in BC. Huge news last week. It's the gift that just keeps on giving, Robin. Oh my gosh. Already, major BC United players like Todd Stone, Shirley Bond have announced they won't be seeking re-election. Wow. Wow. Stone even endorsed the BC Conservative in his riding. And look at these polling numbers from Angus Reid. It shows a narrow lead for the Conservatives. We're like, what? And indicates close to a one-seat majority either way, resulting in a hung of parliament if these numbers play out.
Now, Shachi Curl from Angus Reid has had a fair amount to say as they were releasing that opinion poll, and she's talking about the terrain for the centre-right, which is now consolidated under John Rustad. Here's what she has to say about that climate. There's a real sense the land is not strong, as they say in politics, on housing, healthcare, drug crisis, and more. It's at best a split, and at worst, a lot of discontent on whether BC's on the right or wrong track. And turning to the Angus Reid survey, BC Conservatives, as you mentioned, John, 44% of decided voters, NDP 43%, and the Green Party at 10%. 1 in 10 voters, however, still remain undecided, lots to battle over.
And we're guaranteed of a battle in BC. On top of this, looks like the majority of BC United supporters will actually shift over and vote for the Conservatives. 68% in a recent survey said they'll vote for John Rustad's party, with 17% voting NDP and most of the remainder undecided. So what's the reaction from the NDP? Who knows what's going on? Love to be a fly on the wall. Well, they're obviously worried, but David Eby is reaching out with an olive branch, with some thorns pointed at some conservative leanings.
And my phone is blowing up with people who previously have voted BC Liberal, have always voted BC Liberal, but this time cannot bring themselves to vote for John Rustad and BC Conservatives. And I understand why. If you believe in climate change is real and that it represents a significant economic opportunity for our province, if you believe that women are deserving of basic equal rights and access to reproductive freedom, if you believe we should be building up our healthcare system, not cutting it, if you think we should be building homes for people and not for investors and speculators, you have a home here with us at the BC NDP.
So, who are these BC Conservatives anyway? Well, we've just had some announcements of some new names, some prominent names that have stepped forward. For example, in Oak Bay, Gordon Head, the new BC Conservative candidate is Stephen Andrew. He's standing by. Let's zoom him in. Now joining us in the Victoria Rumble Room, wearing his new guise. Yeah. We're familiar with Stephen Andrew, but not Stephen Andrew, the candidate for the BC Conservatives in Oak Bay, Gordon Head. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, Robin. Hi, John.
Yeah, hi, Stephen. That's fantastic news.
So this has all happened really fast, Stephen. Has it happened as quickly for you as it has for the public in terms of hearing about this? Have you known about this very long? And how do you feel? You feel you're being shot out of a cannon?
Well, I mean, anytime that you run for office, you feel that your life has changed. I knew last Monday that I was going to be the declared candidate for Oak Bay Gordon Head, and John Rustad called me late in the evening and told me that he would like me to run in Oak Bay Gordon Head. And then he shared a bit of news with me that a merger was possible and very, very likely, and that there would be some changes coming up. And then everything went quiet for a couple of days. So I held off on announcing, waiting for that to move forward. And then, I was reconfirmed later in the week. And so we chose to announce Tuesday morning.
Okay, Stephen, now that some of this excitement, although not fully subside, is starting to settle in with people, it's, I guess, time to get into some policy stuff.
Yeah.
There's been rumblings in the past that the BC Conservatives were also very much social conservatives. They vetted you to be a candidate. Did you do the same with them? Did you vet them to make sure it
Yes.
was?
So I can be very blunt about this. When I had a meeting with John Rusted quite some time ago, actually, I mean, I was concerned about some of the things I had been reading online, and I had a discussion with him. As I said to him, listen, John, I'm a gay man. I've been in a relationship for 32 years. You know, if that is contradicts your opinions on same-sex marriage and homosexual lifestyle, we've got an issue. And John said, look, I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. I believe that everyone is entitled to live their lives the way that they should live it. We've been very, very detailed in our conversation about human rights and not wanting to take away any human rights. And I said, I certainly would never put myself in that position where I would vote to lessen human rights for any individual. And we're very, very clear on that. So a lot of what's being thrown out there right now is fear mongering by the NDP. I would say to people, don't buy into it. I'm certainly not what we would call an anti-gay and wouldn't take any anti-gay position. So it's just a lot of noise. And I think the reason that we're seeing that now, John, is that we have a situation where the polling has changed. And EB thought he was going to just race to power and be anointed again premier. And people are taking a second look at him. They're taking another look at the party and saying, you know, I've had enough of the NDP. They've had 7 years. They have virtually destroyed our healthcare. Their failure on handing out free drugs is just apparent in all parts of the province. And we need a province that is more economical, that can generate more housing, that we set the right environment to do that. And the NDP are just not doing that. And on top of that, their fiscal management is ridiculous. I mean, you just have to look at some of the most recent announcements. But they're like $1-2 billion up, and they're throwing the money around like a drunken sailor. We cannot allow that.
The reason, that things have changed so much from being a politician even 10, maybe 15 years ago, is this frickin' social media and the way that people can just say things without any accountability.
Of course, we're on social media right now, John, right? Remember?
Well, we're on the internet. We're not going to be saying the kind of things on Facebook and internet and those sorts of things. Now, therefore, what do you think of? Are you ready emotionally for the kind of crap that's going to be flinged around on anybody?
You just have to look at it like it's made up. It is somebody reading, one line of something that's happened or changing the story, making it bigger than it was, or twisting what has been said. I'll tell you right now, if I make an error, I'm going to say, hey, look, I made an error. I'm sorry. And I'm going to do better in the future. And that's all I want from people. And I think that's all we want from our politicians. As far as social media goes, I mean, I think my featured post on X, or Twitter as it's known, says, look, beware of people posting under pseudonyms and that will not give their real name, or they're not accountable for their posts. It's a lot easier to come out and yell at somebody and say crap basically about somebody if you don't have to take your mask off.
Mm-hmm.
And to anybody I say, if you look at my posts, my name is there, how to reach me is there. I often put my phone number out there so people can reach me. I've always been willing to listen. Maybe we don't agree, but I'm willing to sit down and listen to people, because every day I think you can learn something. So, John, this campaign is not going to be won on Twitter or Facebook. It's going to be won by people engaging, truly engaging, asking the questions that are important to them. And it's going to be won by real people.
Conservatives are gathering their team, and that's the same case in Esquimalt-Metchosin. And the new candidate there, in fact, is going to be John Wilson from Wilson's Transportation, which is big news. John Wilson, a longtime chair of the Greater Victoria Chamber of Commerce, a leading member of the business community. So that's a big get for the Conservatives. We'll see how that plays out. And it's interesting because the NDP incumbent has recently announced she's not running. That would be the Minister of State, Mitzi Dean, announced suddenly that she wasn't going to run for family reasons. So they have a new face coming in as well. And all the time, Greens candidate firmly in place, that would be Camille Curry of the BC Healthcare Matters fame. So the candidates are getting placed in Esquimalt-Metchosin. Should be an interesting race there as well. And following all of these developments is podcaster Ryan Painter, who we've had on as a regular guest on the Rumble Room.
Love Ryan.
Always outspoken, always enthusiastic, and he has this very strong affection right now for all things conservative, both the federal Conservatives and the BC Conservatives, after many years of being an NDP supporter. So we asked Ryan about this enthusiasm we're now seeing from some blue-collar workers and from a lot of young people about the BC Conservatives. This is something new. And there are demographics out there that are showing that this has been underway for some time. We see these through some of the recent polling.
This is so good, and I've thought about this a lot. So I'm going to say on a couple, I'm going to go micro, and then I'm going to go macro for you here. So on the micro pieces, when you see people walking around and they see crime, they see challenges with homelessness, they see people doing drugs on the street, it tugs at people's heartstrings. And when they learn about government-funded things like Safe Supply that have just allowed free drugs to be provided to the community, I think people think like that can't be a common sense response to helping people better their lives. So that's one thing. I think healthcare is completely a shambles in the province of BC. And anybody who's gone to a hospital and sees our heroic nurses doing the best that they possibly can, and then at the same time sees emergency rooms in Lillooet, in Masset, on Haida, in Smithers, in Terrace, in Prince Rupert, being shut down for days and days and days on end. And so they have to send folks to Vancouver for treatment, for help or support. That's a problem. And then on housing is still unaffordable. Housing is still unavailable. Housing is still something that is almost impossible for someone of my generation or younger to feel like they're ever going to get access to. So I think on those pieces, the Conservatives have really found their key economic issues that they can push and get voters to see there's another way. There's a different way to access a better future. So on that point, I want to go big now and talk about why are young people coming to the Conservative Party? Because you're right, young people tended to support the NDP. When Justin Trudeau promised that the 2015 election would be the last election under first past the post, he got more young votes than any other party. And therein lies the challenge, John and Robin, because young people have put their faith in people like Justin Trudeau, and they've been lied to. And so that is really discouraging. And so what I think they're looking for right now is they're looking for people to talk honestly to them, to tell them what the problems are and how they're going to fix it. They don't want to feel talked down to, which happens a lot from folks on the left. And I can admit it's probably something that I did too. They don't want to be talked down to. They want to be spoken with as equals. And I think that's where Pierre Poilievre, and I actually think that's where John Rustad are connecting with young people. They're saying, look, you've got problems. They're not being solved by current people who are telling you they know what's better for you. You know, I'm government, I'm here to help, is not necessarily always the best solution. And there are better ways to do this. And some of that is by giving money back in your pockets and giving you a bit more freedom and autonomy. So I really do think that young people are coming to Conservatives because in the Conservatives, they see a rational, pragmatic focus, not steeped in ideology, not steeped in division, not steeped in culture war, identity politics, woke stuff, picking fights with different groups of people and pitting them against each other. That's where I think Conservatives and certainly young voters want to see their focus and their energy.
Fascinated about how a younger demographic is gravitating towards the Conservatives. I never really thought it would happen in my lifetime, left to right. And Ryan truly represents that shift, that demographic. Can't wait to hear more about why that's happening. Meanwhile, hey, good luck to everyone in all the candidates in Oak Bay and Esquimalt from all sides, and all of the other ridings, frankly, across the province, as the NDP lines up to defend its majority against an unexpected coalition of the center right.
No kidding. I mean, Kevin Falcon makes this announcement and everything goes topsy-turvy overnight. And, it's amazing how much feedback we've got on the Rumble Room from both sides of this argument of whether this was a good idea or a bad idea for the BC United to disband. Lots of viewer mail. For example, Stacy had this to say: if the Conservatives win, we lose our coveted public health care system. Plenty, and she means BC United supporters, have crossed over to the NDP, and the official title Liberal is still in the party's future. Falcon had a deer-in-the-headlight look and a disregard for his team as a whole. Not copacetic.
So, amazing what vision these people have. They should be buying lottery tickets. Anyway, Stacy reflects the mood of a lot of people, however, who were shocked and dismayed about Falcon's move, including us. But there were a lot of other people who told us the exact opposite. They did the right thing to unite the vote. And boy, do we appreciate your comments. Jim writes, the only thing wrong with Falcon's switch was that he left it too long. If he'd paid attention to the tea leaves 2 or 3 months ago, he wouldn't have stranded his party's candidates.
For more on the feelings of former BC United supporters, we turn to a former MLA, former BC Liberal MLA Sheila Orr. And now back with us in the Rumble Room, one of the world's truly great rumblers, yes. Sheila Orr, former BC Liberal MLA, and a woman about town who knows an awful lot about Kevin Falcon's leadership, the name change to BC United, all of that. Sheila, great to have you on the show, but these are kind of troubling times.
Well, thank you for having me. Yes, I am the last real Liberal standing. And I will remain a real Liberal, regardless of what everybody else is doing.
That is
I'm
fabulous.
not shifting.
Okay, but Kevin Falcon is saying he's done this for the good of the province. He's saying by basically creating a coalition, by walking away from the fight, it unites the right under the Conservatives. It gives them a real chance to defeat David Eby, which he says is the most important thing. Do you buy it?
I buy the last few words you just said, but let's just review quickly. We had a strong BC Liberal Party under Gordon Campbell and under Christy Clark. We did lots of good stuff. It was a strong, powerful party. Fast forward to yesterday, it's in smithereens. It's gone. Sure, the party's still there. I mean, that hasn't been dismantled, but it's gone. And Kevin Falcon comes out as a hero. Now, that doesn't add up for me. How can a party be so powerful and now be nothing, and you come out as a hero because you're now agreeing to amalgamate in a big tent, which Gordon Campbell already had. We already had an inclusive tent under him. So now he's saying, I'm good. I've done this. I'm not going to split the vote. He's right there. He's dead right there. I mean, I'm glad he's not splitting the vote. I'm glad he's done what he's done. But please, please don't take credit for all of this. The bottom line is he destroyed the party.
So much to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe it. You told us several weeks ago on another very popular Rumble Room show that you thought John Rustad could possibly win this election. You told us that. What's going to happen in October?
I've always said I thought the Conservatives would win, even when they were battling through in these last few months. I do believe they will win now. They've got an edge. They do have 96 seats to fill, and I believe 140 candidates. So there's going to be a bit of a difficult pushing in a square peg into a round hole. And now another candidate, a BC United candidate, is going to come forward who perhaps perhaps is better. It's got more understanding of politics. And you've got some, I know you've got several conservative candidates. They're a little bit on the edge. I won't name names, but bit wing nutty. And how do you get rid of those? They're not going to be happy to leave. They've already been voicing their opinions, although weird, they still have been voicing their opinions. So John Rustad does have quite a challenge. I actually think he's up to it. He will, if he's smart, he'll put good people around himself. And, there's going to be a lot coming down, a lot of unhappy people.
Here we are. Political pundits, love the political chat. Okay, we're knee deep, more than knee deep in. But what do you think? What do you think the public thinks about all this? Okay, Kevin Falcon, he had about 10% support, probably even less as time passes here, and he was likely to lose every seat in the election. Who could blame him for wanting to pull away? Who wants to do a Kim Campbell? Right?
I think as political people we analyze, we talk, we chat, we speak, we know what's going on. And we're like a very few. We're just this little pod of people that know what's going on. The general public out there, the regular folk that are working hard, I think they're going to go, oh, well, he wasn't doing well, so he's gone. And so now we got the Conservatives. So what are our options now? They're pretty clear now. You're either Free Enterpriser, which is Conservative, or you're Labour, and that's how it used to be. So I think it's going to give the voters a very clear choice. The choice being, I'm a Free Enterpriser, go out there, you're not going to be held back anymore, get your businesses rolling, do whatever you want to do to get ahead, or I'm not, I'm going to stick with the social agenda and the Labour agenda. I like that. I do like that.
I would suggest to you that it's free enterprise versus bureaucracy. I think even the Labour vote's going to go the free enterprise way.
I know.
They're not building projects in the rest of BC or anything.
Yeah. When I look at how this bureaucracy has grown under the NDP, it has been remarkable. It's absolutely remarkable how many extra people have been hired for mega jobs all across the province. So time to clean that up. I'm not going to try and sway people one way or the other. I just am glad it's one or the other. It just makes it. So let's go back to the general public. That's how they're going to look at it. Oh, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do this. They're not going to listen to all the stuff in the middle and, this is what.
Oh, they're going to listen to you, Sheila.
So I think that's what they're going to.
They're going to listen to you, I think. But we've talked about Gordon Campbell in this conversation. He is still around, and people seem to be paying attention to what he says and thinks. What are you hearing about Gordon Campbell in the middle of all this? Are MLAs, members of the party, calling him up and asking for advice? Where do you think Gordon stands on what's just happened?
So, this is just my assumption. I'm not going to say he said this or she said that. I am quite convinced that Gordon Campbell has been very instrumental in this. I am quite convinced that he's been working away, making sure that this happens. Because remember, he was the one that built that coalition. And he's the one that's now watched it be destroyed. I cannot believe that he wouldn't be in there making sure that it was actually, that this actually happened. Now, I want to, in politics, a lot of people know each other. It's circles within circles, right? So you've got Ryan Bruce, who is on the executive of the United Party, because his father is Graham Bruce, who is a very popular minister. He was a minister both in the Social Credit Party and in the BC Liberal Party. He is, I think, a friend of Gordon Campbell's. There's a whole group of them that know each other. You can't believe that there aren't phone calls going back and forth. Sorry, we know there have been. I'm sure that they've been chatting and saying, how are we going to do this? So has Gordon Campbell been involved? I would be mightily surprised if he wasn't involved. I'm quite sure that he was, and I'm quite sure that he's pulled a good chunk of this off.
For you,
that's just my opinion.
Yes. Mhm.
That's all we're looking for today, Sheila.
That's just my opinion.
That's all
I
we're
have-
looking for. Always great to talk to Sheila Orr, and we'll have her back for sure because, she gives such a great overview of what's going on, certainly from the former BC Liberal / BC Conservative side of the ledger. And that's about all the time we have. John, maybe again you could quickly tell our many viewers how they can follow the Rumble Room regularly, follow us, tweet us, share us, all those good things on a variety of platforms.
We knew this BC election would be exciting. It just sort of went into infinity exciting with this announcements. I can't believe it. So fun to have this show. So fun to have people watching. So very fun to have them commenting. We appreciate all of those things. Please continue to watch us on X/Twitter, on Facebook, and all of our interviews live on YouTube. We also have a podcast audio version of the show, and we're also on Instagram, and we are on TikTok. Cannot wait for the next month and all the great conversations we're going to have before the election, month and a half. I am John Jurisic, noting, by the way, that I have friends across all political spectrums. New Democrats, Greens, Conservatives, and I wish you all the best in the campaign ahead. It's tough to put your name forward. Thank you and congratulations.
Wonderfully said, John, and what a lovable guy to have as a co-host. For my part, I'm just going to keep bringing out the issues, going after what's really hot out there, and encouraging people at all those times to rumble on.